freedom of speech on the surface is as strong as it's ever been in this country. We have Supreme Court justices on the left, on the right, and in the middle who are strongly pro-free speech. And that did not used to always be the case. In some of the classic cases of the 1960s and 70s, the more liberal justices were for more freedom of speech, and the more conservative justices were for less. And that's changed. Today, if anything, the conservatives on the court are more strongly in favor of strong free speech rights even than the liberals are.
Classic example of what Noah is talking about is campaign finance, where it's the conservatives who are saying people have a First Amendment right, a freedom of speech right, to give as much money as they want to whatever candidate they want, to spend it however they please. And it's the liberals who are saying, no, that is not an untrammeled First Amendment right.
If you look at what's actually happening in practice, not what the courts say, but what's happening in the real world, I don't think that free speech is in such a good place at all. A lot of speech doesn't take place in areas where the government's going to regulate it, but in areas where it's within the private sector's capacity to regulate it, specifically on social media. That means that a huge amount of what we think of as speech is in a zone where it's true the government can't shut it down, but Twitter or Facebook or YouTube can take down content. My students, in their 20s mostly, I think are disinclined to instinctively support free speech because they've grown up in a world where if you don't like speech, you block it.
One of the responsibilities of a community is to allow hateful speech, but with a lot of police presence. The line between the two is a lot harder to draw than you might think.
We need to be very conscious and aware of situations where violence can emerge, has a high probability of emerging. The government of the United States can't, or a state government, can't stop you from saying just about anything. But Twitter or Facebook, or for that matter, YouTube, all of those platforms are engaged in regularized judgments of what they're going to allow up or they're going to take down, not based on the absolutist First Amendment model. We're in a global struggle for what the freedom of speech is going to look like in your lifetimes.
Very good questions today. I liked how he led the conversation and very eye-opening.
I think we're at an age where we're thinking a lot about the world in different ways, and we're thinking about our friends and we're thinking about social media and how we should hold ourselves to certain standards, especially when it comes to finding jobs, finding internships, and getting into schools that we want to get into.
Mr. Feldman kind of opened my eyes to how different countries treat the issue of free speech, as well as private companies.
We're at that age where we're about to vote, and we're kind of growing up in a different time where the previous generations didn't grow up on social media. So we've kind of learned to approach speech and discussion from a different sense, and having him come in and talk about what free speech looks like on social media is very important.
The biggest takeaway was just the fact that there's so many different answers to every problem that we need to discuss and listen to other people's opinions and viewpoints in order to find a good solution to the problems.